DC Studios is doing some weird stuff. Let's talk about it. So we got Lanterns coming out at the end of this week. I am very excited. The trailers look really interesting. I feel like this year has been tough for DC because Supergirl obviously underperformed, but it does seem like Lanterns is set to maybe change the narrative of, oh my gosh, DC is over, to like, hey, here's a great character that you're gonna like to see in the future things. That's John or Hal or whatever. I don't know. It's just me, but I think that series looks pretty cool. I haven't seen it yet. However, in the midst of all of this potential success, we're also getting news that a lot of other things are not happening. And I just wanted to take a video to talk about the current DC gods and monsters, if we even want to call it that anymore, slate, where we are with all of those projects, and talk about what that means for the overall cinematic universe. Because basically today, as part of an article on a site I've never heard of before called The Ankler, the article's written by Leslie Goldberg, they basically outlined the story behind the different Lanterns projects that have existed for a while, and like they've had trouble getting off the ground. But then that report also featured news that 2 shows in the new DCU are like no longer in development. Now there's been a little bit of pushback on at least one of those shows. People are saying maybe that one will happen, but either way, this is not looking good for those shows. And in general, the new DCU is in a very strange place. So there were originally 10 things on the slate in the new DCU. They were not in any specific order, besides that Superman was going to be the first one, and I guess that's not even true because Creature Commandos is going to be the first one, but then Superman was like the first big one. That felt like that was the start of the new DCU, even though Creature Commandos is technically the start. So you got Creature Commandos, relatively well received, and then you got Superman Legacy, I would say pretty well received as well. Creature Commandos, I guess, is in a different spot because like I know a lot of people that I think would like it that just have not seen it. I think Superman was the cultural thing that it needed to be, where it got a lot of people on board with this version of the character, this universe. Like I think it did a lot to build up some goodwill for the new DCU. Then we get a season of Peacemaker that is technically in the new DCU. I would say that one's a little all over the place. Like the beginning of that season is really fun. I'd say the finale of the season kind of lost me, and I saw that sentiment all throughout like the internet, and people were talking about the show. But like I would say it was not as successful as Superman, probably about as good as Creature Commandos. More people saw it, so that was something. Then you had Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, which was just called Supergirl because they always changed the names of those things. And that was A, very unpopular critically, B, an enormous bomb, like one of the biggest bombs of this year. I don't think it deserves to be the biggest bomb ever. I do think it deserves to not do well because I think that movie just does not do a lot of things right. I think that was what a lot of people thought coming out of it, which is like, this just is not very good, which I think like there are other movies that have come out that have underperformed that I think have been good and have built up goodwill for their studios. The good recent example of this is Thunderbolts. Not everybody's favorite movie, but I would say a movie that won a lot of people over. And while it didn't make a ton of money, it did create this feeling that like, oh, the Marvel movies are kind of good now. And I think it's stuck with them until now. They're going to pretty much spend all that goodwill on Avengers Doomsday, so we'll see how that goes. But like Supergirl did not work. There were 3 other movies on the slate, and all of them are in some kind of limbo. First, you had The Authority, which did not make a ton of sense when it was announced because that team is not even really part of DC Comics traditionally. Like, they exist in their own separate universe. It was merged with DC, so like some of those characters have crossed over, but the idea of an Authority movie being part of the beginning of this universe was interesting, especially because the Authority is kind of the, oh, what if superheroes were bad, and like what if they took the law into their own hands? And that's also kind of what the Superman movie is about. Listen, it doesn't matter because that was the first project that just clearly did not get off the ground. It seems like it could have been interesting, but also it feels like a pretty risky bet for DC to take this early. Then you had Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing seems like it was one of those projects, and James Gunn, DC, Warner Brothers like this, when a creative comes to them and is like, I want to make this, and if it's a creative that people are really excited about, that has a proven track record, they're like, great, let's do it. In this case, it was James Mangold, who most people probably know for making The Wolverine and Logan. So like one of everybody's favorite superhero movies. That guy comes into your office and is like, hey, I want to make a Swamp Thing movie. It's like, oh yeah, of course, greenlit. And Swamp Thing is a cool character. He had a show that didn't really take off, but that was because of DC's weird little streaming service not really knowing what to do with it. But there was potential there. It seems like what happened after that was James Mangold just kind of lost interest, got, busy with other projects, whatever it was. Once Mangold seemed to be out of the picture, then it seemed like the development on Swamp Thing kind of gone. So Swamp Thing, more or less gone. Then you have Batman the Brave and the Bold. So this one is an interesting one because it's Batman. Like those other two that were canceled, Authority and Swamp Thing, those are not household names. But Batman movies, like they make money. Same way like Spider-Man movies make money. So it felt like a no-brainer that there would be a Batman movie in this phase. There seem to be two problems with this movie. The first is Andy Muschietti is attached to it in some capacity. And I think Andy Muschietti is a good director, and I think they did their best with that Flash movie. But a lot of fans are like looking back going, hey, why are we gonna let that guy make another one of these? Even if some of the problems with the movie are not like their fault, why not just get someone with a fresh perspective, with a fresh record? Why do we want to have from the director of The Flash connected to this movie? Even though I think most of the parts of that movie that work are the Batman parts. But I understand people just not wanting this director to be attached to this enormous superhero franchise. On the other side of things, it seems like there is either a self-imposed rule that maybe James Gunn has decided upon, or maybe Zaslav put this rule in place, although I don't buy it with Zaslav because he seems to like movies that make money and Batman movies make money. But either way, it seems like James Gunn and the team are not going to really start working on Batman the Brave and the Bold until Matt Reeves' The Batman Part 2 is done. And the problem with that is Batman Part 2 is taking a while. It is filming now, like it's happening, but that took some time. And I think like if I'm James Gunn and I want this universe to be successful, you put the Superman movie first, you put the Batman movie second, right? Like that has to be a priority. You want people to get excited about the universe so that then you can sell them on smaller projects like Supergirl or Authority or Swamp Thing. But for whatever reason, they're just not making this Batman movie as quickly as you would expect. You know, maybe they think it's that audiences won't like that many Batman movies, though I don't think that's that big of a problem, considering like Spider-Man has a lot of movies. We got Spider-Man this year, and it's going to be like the biggest movie of all time. And then we're getting an animated Spider-Man movie next year, and it's also probably going to be one of the biggest movies of that year. So, like, I think that can work. I also think they're making this dynamic duo movie, which sounds cool, but like, that's a Batman movie. Batman's not in it, but it's about Batman's two apprentices set in Gotham City. I assume they're going to be fighting Batman villains. So it's not like Batman's presence is not going to be felt. I mean, Batman, like, you could see him very briefly in the Creature Commandos episode where you saw the flashback of Dr. Phosphorus's life. And then also there's the bit where they have the prophecy where, like, everybody's dead. And you could see Batman in that too. But, like, the other one, that's, like, what I assume is current Batman. But, like, we don't have a script for that movie. It is not cast. I'm curious where they are with it. So those were all the movies that they announced originally. There were a bunch of other movies, though, that were not part of that announcement, or two of which are being made. The first is the Clayface movie. This was originally written and directed by Mike Flanagan, who everybody loves. You know, he's the hot guy in horror right now. He dropped out, and it seems like they rewrote the script, so it's unclear how much of his movie remains, but either way, this movie is done. It is coming out in like October of this year. It's probably got a modest budget. I have a feeling it's going to be pretty successful. Maybe not like, you know, Spider-Man successful, but I think it's going to make its budget back, and like it's going to be a good note for this universe, even if it's not the most successful movie of the year. It is getting people a little bit worried though, because it's like, hey, why are we doing a Clayface movie before a Batman movie? And it feels like the reason is, much like Swamp Thing, Mike Flanagan just came, James Gunn was like, I want to make a Clayface movie, and James Gunn was like, okay. And it seemed like maybe at the time they expected there would be more going on. A lot of these other projects kind of fell off, so for whatever reason, Clayface is like one of two movies currently in like active development right now, in terms of just, I guess, two movies that are shooting or have shot. And when you compare that to like how Marvel usually works, I'd say we're in a weird spot because of Doomsday and Secret Wars, but like usually we know what the next three movies that are going to come out are, and right now we know Clayface, Man of Tomorrow, which is the Superman sequel, and then we really don't know what the next movie is. And, you know, you could say the same about Marvel because it's just Doomsday Secret Wars, but like that's clearly because after that something completely new starts, and we do kind of know it's going to be X-Men, it's going to be Black Panther 3, it's going to be Ghost Rider. Now, is it great that we know that? I mean, maybe that kind of people will say, oh, that's superhero fatigue. Possible. But I also think, like, for a cinematic universe to work as an idea, it helps to know that it's got a future. And it is unclear what the cinematic future of the new DCU is. But anyway, we got Clayface movie. That one's done. Man of Tomorrow comes out next year. It's got all the Superman guys in it, including Lex Luthor, played by Nicholas Hoult, who now is annoyingly signed on to that stupid Harry Potter show. but whatever. It also is set to feature a bunch of characters from other movies and shows. Supergirl is going to be in it. One of the Lanterns is going to be in it. Brainiac, who hasn't been in anything yet, but he's going to be the antagonist. There's probably going to be other characters connected to this story, and I'm curious to see how that plays out. I don't think Clayface is going to be in it, but you never know. Maybe Peacemaker will show up, also unclear. But either that is filming or it is wrapped. It's going to come out soon, next year. Then we're unsure about what movies are coming out next. We've heard a couple of names thrown around for characters that are going to get movies, right? Besides Batman, Brave and the Bold, that's going to come out. This dynamic duo movie does feel like it's coming out. I don't know what the date for that is. It is a mix of claymation, puppetry, animation. It seems very out there. It apparently stars Robin and Jason Todd. So I just checked right now. Apparently it's on the schedule for June of 2028. It's a little while from now, but that's a movie, and we'll see. I think it's hard to tell, especially with these animated movies. If they're going to get delayed or not. Spider-Verse comes to mind, and that movie was great, but hitting the release date on those is always tricky. And also, while that is Batman characters, again, it's Robins without Batman, and it is not in this universe. It is its own thing. So, I think that's why it doesn't come up in these conversations, is because the idea of the cinematic universe, whether you like it or not, that is what they're doing, and this is not part of it. Or at least it doesn't seem like it is. Then you have some other projects that people have heard DC is working on. There was a Sergeant Rock movie by Luca Guadagnino that seems like it is done. Maybe had Daniel Craig at some point, but it doesn't matter because it's not happening anymore. He's a war guy. It seems like it would maybe be closer to a standard war movie, but we never heard the pitch for it. So maybe he would have been fighting dinosaurs or something. You never know. That would have been cool. He should have been fighting dinosaurs. Then there was a Wonder Woman movie and a Teen Titans movie that were both in development, and I assume still are. The problem is, the plan, at least currently, is that those two movies are going to be written by Anna Nogueira, who wrote the Supergirl movie that nobody liked, and that lost a lot of money. And I would say, it's always hard to tell with a script how many levels it goes through. So we don't know exactly what Anna Nogueira brought to the script. So I don't think you could put all the problems of the Supergirl script on Anna Nogueira. But at the same time, based on interviews, it does seem like a lot of the problems were her decisions. And so for that reason, I think the fan base is skeptical. Why are they going to make the next one of these? But Supergirl shouldn't have flopped. I mean, it flopped for a lot of reasons, but we don't want Wonder Woman to flop. We don't want Titans to flop. I do think they're still making a Wonder Woman movie. I think that's still happening. But I'd be curious to see if Anna Nogueira is still the writer on that movie. And then with the Titans movie, or Teen Titans or whatever, I would bet that is a lower priority than Wonder Woman. Obviously, Wonder Woman is a movie that is going to make money. Titans is a maybe, and also Titans is expensive, because it's a bunch of different heroes with a bunch of different powers. It's supposed to be really colorful. Don't get me wrong, I think Wonder Woman's expensive too, but I think Wonder Woman, you can say this movie is going to make $500 million, right? That is maybe the floor for these, especially with the new one. If we can get some prestigious director, that I think is in the bag. Whereas with Teen Titans, it's a $200 million movie based on those characters, certainly could flop. But either way, I'm sure if you asked right now, they would say they are still working on those movies. But we haven't heard any casting, directors, anything like that. If this continues, I expect they will cast a Wonder Woman soon, because there have been rumors that they're planning to cast one, but I don't know. The only other movie that's been teased is a Deathstroke and Bane movie. And Deathstroke and Bane are two villains. Deathstroke is a Titans villain. Bane is a Batman villain. They're not incredibly good friends or anything like that. I don't know what comic this is coming from or why these characters, unless there is some connection where there are two actors that showed up, we're James, we would like to play these characters. He was perfect, you guys are huge, you're gonna make this movie great, we'll figure out the movie eventually. I wouldn't be surprised if this turns into something closer to the Suicide Squad, or the Secret Six is the team that I would say these guys have the most in common with. I think they could get away with doing a second Suicide Squad movie, and I think that honestly might do kind of well. Yeah, the new one didn't do crazy numbers, but that was also one of those releases with COVID, and it was on HBO at the same time, so it's hard to say how successful any of those would be. Also, my cat Mortimer just woke up from a little nap. He is on the floor. He loves the Suicide Squad because of Ratcatcher. He thinks Ratcatcher is fun. He's never caught a rat, but I think he would love it. He loves playing with little toys of rats. and mice. I guess mice more. Anyway, okay, so those are the movies. I don't know what happens with Deathstroke and Bane. It's so specific and weird that part of me is like, they really must be making it. Because like a Wonder Woman rumor, or like James Gunn saying like, we're working on a Wonder Woman movie, that is something you say if the investors are like, we're kind of worried about this. Are you going to make that Batman movie? It's like, eventually. Are you going to make the Wonder Woman movie? It's like, yeah, we're working on it. And then the investor's like, okay, that's good. I don't think they're lying about it. Like, I think they are trying to make a Wonder Woman movie, but there's some movies where it's like, yeah, we're gonna try to figure out a Wonder Woman movie, of course. But with this Bane and Deathstroke thing, it's like, why would you even say that once if that wasn't something you were really serious about? Because nobody expects that movie to exist. I don't know. But those are the movies. And like already, I think you can see a pattern. They announced 5 movies originally. 2 of them have come out, and the other 3 probably won't. And if they will, it won't be for a while. There are other movies that are coming out, like a sequel to one of those movies, or a movie about the origin of one of the minor villains of one of the characters who's getting a movie. But like, that's kind of where they are. And there's a meme that I've seen that's going around. And it's like, if James Gunn made the MCU, throws out this hypothetical MCU that starts with Iron Man 2, because it starts with an Iron Man story that's not an origin story, which I think is fine. And then it goes to Ironheart, and then it goes to Venom. And that is kind of what we're dealing with here. Honestly, Venom's too big of a name. It would have to go to like Morbius or Craven, because like Clayface is such a specific pick. And maybe the movie is going to be good. But anyway, that's where we are. Uncertainty. But at least you know, and I believed Warner Brothers, HBO, they want to make movies because like Zaslav said, the movies make money. The Batman movie made money, so we want to keep doing that. Whereas there are these other things that don't make money, or at least they make money but differently. And those are the shows. So we have seen 2 DC shows so far. Like I said, Creature Commandos, Peacemaker Season 2. We're getting one very soon. That's going to be Lanterns. There were other shows that were announced and other shows that have been announced since, and those are in kind of a weird place. And those are the ones we got the news about today. Also, I don't know if this is coming through, but I'm petting Mortimer and he is so shitty right now. Hair is everywhere. I mean, he is perfect though, so what am I going to do? 2 shows that we have heard are now not happening, or at least originally that's what we heard. Waller, this some sort of like Amanda Waller, not even origin it seems like. It seems like it was going to tell this story after Peacemaker, of Amanda Waller, played by Viola Davis, and Leota Adebayo, played by Danielle Brooks, and like something about their relationship. Maybe Waller creates another spy agency or something. As of Peacemaker Season 1 and then Creature Commandos, she's like kind of in trouble, but she still does work for the government or something. I honestly don't know where Amanda Waller is, but like she was going to get a show. It seemed like Viola Davis was interested, but now rumor is that show has stalled. Like that is not happening. On the other hand, one of the other shows they announced, instead of a Wonder Woman movie originally, was a show called Paradise Lost. And that was going to be about the Amazons on the hidden island of Themyscira, but the story was going to take place before Wonder Woman existed. So it was going to be about like Hippolyta and Circe, who we saw in Creature Commandos, and, you know, maybe Nubia, Artemis, some of the other Wonder Woman characters, but not Wonder Woman. I think partially at the time it was because Wonder Woman 84 just didn't perform very well, and it wasn't good either. And also, like, the people that did like Wonder Woman and Gal Gadot, they weren't going to do her anymore. She wasn't going to be the new Wonder Woman. So I think maybe they were like, well, we need some reset time for people. They won't accept a new Wonder Woman like this week because some of them still like her. So we should give it a little space. That's my guess. There was also a very popular comic, Wonder Woman Historia, that came out around the same time as this announcement that made me think like, oh, did he see that and go like, oh, we should make that? Because that's kind of what this is. And it is a cool comic. But the rumor was the Paradise Lost is also in trouble. It was in development. James had said that. But now, according to this report, that is not the case. And it would make sense because unlike the movies, these shows don't make money. Like they could, and HBO maybe would have a better case for it than Disney Plus or some of the other streaming services, because HBO does need quality shows, and like Lanterns could be a big show for them, and it could occupy the same space as like Game of Thrones or one of those other shows. But the problem is, if these aren't big HBO shows, if they're just HBO Max shows, companies do not seem interested anymore, and for good reason, in putting money into streaming TV shows specifically, like Disney and those big networks. Like obviously the streamers still want to, like your Netflixes and stuff, they still want to make new stuff. But companies like Warner Brothers and Disney that can make something, can make a Moana show and can go, okay, so what do we do with this? Either we put this on Disney Plus and some people see it, and maybe some more people subscribe to it, or we take it and put it in theaters and it makes $1 billion. They want to do that second thing. And because of that, it seems like a lot of these studios are just pivoting towards movies. And like with Paradise Lost, it makes a lot more sense why they would go like, well, we're working on a Wonder Woman movie. We don't need 2 of these. Let's forget about Paradise Lost for now and work on Wonder Woman mostly. So that would explain why that one's kind of stalled. You also have a Booster Gold show. Now this, more than any of the rest of them, felt like a no-brainer. It is apparently still in development, but they're looking for a new writer. It seems like they may be recasting the character who was never officially cast before, but a lot of people thought it was going to be Kumail Nanjiani. And it seems like that show is kind of back at square one. And because of how precarious the situation is for the shows, square one's a bad square to be on. We have 2 other shows that were not part of the original slate that are, it seems like, coming out. One is this Mr. Miracle show, animated. They just cast Nathan Fillion in it as Guy Gardner. We still don't have a casting for Scott or Barda, but whatever. That probably happens, I think. I'm surprised we haven't seen anything besides that one picture, but I think that will happen. And then there's this Jimmy Olsen show, I believe now called American Villain, that is going to feature Jimmy Olsen and other news people investigating, apparently, Gorilla Grodd. We have an actor for that. It's going to be played by Jimmy Tatro. They just cast Mary Holland from, she's been in a lot of things. The 2 that stood out to me are Big Door Prize, the show I really liked that she was in, and then she was in Veep. She played Jonah's mean wife. I've seen her doing like improv and stuff. She's very funny. Like I said, the show's called American Villain. It's by the American Vandal team. I think they're incredibly funny. I think this show has the potential to be really good, and it seems like this is a priority. There's also a second season of Creature Commandos that's coming out. We saw a little bit of casting for that, although we haven't heard too much about it. And then obviously there's other like DC, like some of My Adventures with Superman and stuff, but those I would say are far away like from this universe. There was also rumors of a Catwoman show and a Poison Ivy show that were both passed on. Those are tricky because the Poison Ivy show apparently was in the Reevesaverse, the whatever we're calling it, Batman epic crime saga. We don't know about the Catwoman show. I think Catwoman should get a show. I think Catwoman should get a movie, but like that reminds people of the Catwoman movie. But like Catwoman seems like a character that would be perfect for a show. She's a big name. Like I think they could do a Catwoman movie, and I'm not talking about the Zoe Kravitz. I'm talking about like a new thing. Like I think characters in the Batman universe are concerned that could support their own thing. She's one of them. It's her, Robin, Batman. Those are the 3. I know like it'd be nice if it was Batgirl. Doesn't seem like you can do that. And then I guess Joker can get his own movie. But that's about it. So it seems like the Poison Ivy show isn't happening. We're probably not going to get another season of The Penguin. I don't think anybody was shocked by that. But like, I guess we're at a point now where we're far enough away from this original announcement to look back and say like, how did it go? Especially now that a lot of the projects that were in development seemingly are not. I understand now why some fans are a little upset because James Gunn went out and said, we are going to make all these great movies and shows, and we do not greenlight a show until we have an amazing script for it, because we're going to do it right. And then here are the 10 projects that we're working on, and these are going to be incredible. And then show after movie and show a movie get announced and then don't happen, or James Gunn says it's the best script he's ever read and it turns out to be Supergirl. Like, I think Man of Tomorrow is still in a decent spot, and you never know, Clayface could totally change the narrative here if that and Lanterns are big hits. But I think DC is in a really tricky spot, and that gets worse when you think about the fact that Warner Brothers is currently in the process of maybe being bought by who? We don't know. Maybe Paramount, but that seems to have stalled, or at least it's being held up in court. Maybe Netflix will buy them. And then the priorities could really change if it's Paramount and Ellison takes charge. James Gunn, famously pretty outspoken liberal. Ellison, who's in charge of Paramount, seems fine with firing people who he disagrees with, right? Like, he destroyed 60 Minutes. Colbert's off the air. And then you could say, oh, the Colbert thing was losing money. Sure, 60 Minutes wasn't. They just installed someone in 60 Minutes who does not know what they're doing, so that they could, like, tank that show, it seems like, so they could kill stories they don't like. Allegedly. I mean, it's not even an allegedly, it's just what they're doing. But either way, like, it would not be shocking to me if Ellison, CBS, and Paramount all of them do take over Warner Brothers and James Gunn is let go. And I don't think it helps. I don't think his bargaining position is incredibly strong if the last movie that came out was Supergirl and that didn't do very well. And I also think there's this weird feeling that comes with the cinematic universe where if it's not doing well, you don't want to invest in it emotionally or just invest your time. So even if Man of Tomorrow is going to be really good, or like it's just going to be good, like it's going to be about where Superman was, let's say, there will probably be people that were like, oh, these DC movies, they aren't that great. And like, they're probably going to reboot them in a couple of years. So I don't know. I'll see it eventually, but I'm not going to like go to opening night for it. I'm not saying that's what people should do. I'm saying that is how a lot of people think about this. And I wouldn't be surprised if this narrative that is created now of like, oh, this is canceled, and this is canceled, and this is in development, and this is not in development. Like, if all of those dominoes do start to weigh on audiences, the same way that the last year of the DCEU was really bad for itself. Like, all of those movies came out and flopped. Like, Shazam 2, wasn't very good. Flash wasn't very good. But, like, Blue Beetle was pretty good. But that, because of the collapsing cinematic universe around it, was kind of dragged down. And yes, Blue Beetle's probably going to be a Man of Tomorrow. Like, he's going to show up and that'll be cool. But, like, the weight of failure and uncertainty is really bad for what people would consider, like, entertainment investments. You were getting invested in like learning all these guys' names and watching this movie and going, who's that? Oh, he's going to be in his own movie. Oh, that's cool. When that works, that's awesome. People love it. Marvel built billions and billions of dollars worth of movies around it. Punisher and Hulk were in a Spider-Man movie, and the movie is going to make $2 billion. But now I would say two things, right? Lanterns is really important. Like, if Lanterns is bad, and it's tough because it's a show, right? So I feel like first episode, second episode, those are probably going to be good because they're going to be setting up a lot of mysteries. But like, if by the end, people have the same feeling we had about Peacemaker season 2, that's not good. But like, if Lanterns is good, that's good. That needs to be good. Clayface needs to be good, obviously. But also, I don't really think it does, because I think there will be a lot of people who won't even have heard of it unless it's amazing. But what I think really needs to happen to restore faith in this universe, Lantern's good. Let's say Clayface performs well. So maybe it's not amazing, but it makes back its budget twice, and everybody's like, wow, what a huge success for James Gunn and DC. Right, that's good. I think the next thing they need to do is just start filming another movie. Whatever it is, cast a Batman, cast a Wonder Woman, make a step towards whatever's next, right? Show people that this is going to be a thing in 2 years. Because say what you will about Marvel, but within the life of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, DC has started and then sort of, had some successes and then crashed a cinematic universe. Like, that one completely began and ended. While I think Marvel could get away with this if they wanted to do a full reboot, I think in people's minds, they don't see DC as that permanent. And I think this is true of the comics also. Like, DC, especially around like, the New 52, they were rebooting all the time. It was Crisis, and then New 52, and then Rebirth. And it seemed like, even though they had some really good comics, it was almost like, do I like what's going on right now? I'll wait for the next one. A couple of years, there'll be another one of these, which is kind of funny because DC is killing it in comics right now. Although I would say a lot of the success of that comes from the Absolute Universe, which is kind of a reboot. I mean, it's not a reboot because it's just an alternate universe. But yeah, like, I think while DC characters are bigger deals, more or less, Batman and Superman are like big deals, I think people are way more skeptical of DC movies and shows. And I don't think it looks amazing that, like, as people have pointed out, Spider-Man's making $1 billion, and then across the street, they're casting a Jimmy Olsen show. Not that I think a Jimmy Olsen show is bad or they shouldn't make one, but like, cast a Batman, cast a Wonder Woman, cast a new Aquaman, I guess. I don't really think you should do that, but one of those two. You need to give the fans something to be excited about. And I think when this original announcement came out, they were excited. And I think you can capture that again, especially if Man of Tomorrow is really good and if it looks good and like the reviews are great. The images that come out look amazing. Nobody else from the cast signs on for the goddamn Harry Potter show. But like, I think that movie can work. But then it's like, what's next? In the cinematic universe, not the Batman, obviously, that's its own thing. Anyway, listen, we will see. This is the entertainment industry. Them's the pictures for you. Things change really quickly because I like James Gunn and I like a lot of what he has produced, and Peter Safran, obviously, as part of the new DCU, and I would like it to succeed. I would like it to be able to exist on its own terms and not always be judged as like, oh, is this the end of it? And yeah, I think that comes from having a visible future. And last thing, and listen to this bit because it is important, very important to me. I've been talking a while about the Nebula project that I filmed about a year ago, and I finally have an update. We're going to be releasing it as a short film. We're going to premiere it at the Holly Shorts Festival in August 21st of 2026. So less than a month. Then once we're done with all the festivals, whenever we are able to, we will premiere it on Nebula. This is I don't know exactly how long it is, over 20-minute long short film I wrote. YouTube friend Patrick Willems directed, and Dave and Nebula put together an incredible team, like cinematographers, actors, crew, and made a short film that really looks great. It is called Power Trip, and unless you are at one of the festivals where it screens, the first place to watch this short, again, that I wrote, will be on Nebula. Nebula is a subscription streaming platform that I and a bunch of other YouTubers created. I upload all my videos early and ad-free, including this one. This was here on Nebula first. And then, like my short film, there's all kinds of stuff you can only find on Nebula. Patrick has made other short films. Lindsay Ellis makes video essays exclusively for Nebula. If you've watched the channel, you've seen me plug many of them. The show Jet Lag premieres on Nebula. Tom Scott's England series premieres on Nebula. It is an incredible way to support creators, and we are in the home stretch, so you will very soon be able to see the short film that I wrote and Patrick directed on Nebula. And a year of Nebula is already a steal at $60 a year. That's just $5 a month. But if you go to go.nebula.tv/thenandocut, you can get a year of Nebula for just $30. That is $2.50 a month. It is an incredible deal. It's a great way to support me and a bunch of other creators who either you already love or you are about to love. Again, it is go.nebula.tv/thenandocut. That's all I got. Stay safe. I'll see you next time.